That's called risk management. And, I understand that. I'm currently having a battle with squirrels. And I'm
And these are not the same squirrels she normally battles. Usually they're mental squirrels. These are actual squirrels.
Help me with hip-hop. Let's get it right. Protect your patience. Day and night. Donna and David, the experts on your side. Help me with hip-hop. Let's get it right.
So, Donna, last week we found out the internet is literally held together by toothpicks and Velcro and everything else.
Don't forget duct tape.
Duct tape. Actually, duct tape we wouldn't have noticed it. It would have been good. But what people are starting to realize, and you and I know this, and I think we see it more often than others, that there are certain things that do append a large portion of the internet. And we saw that a few weeks ago when we had an AWS outage. And then the most recent one is the Cloudflare outage, which we're going to be talking about today.
Yes.
And it's amazing that people, we connect to the internet. We're like, the internet's everywhere. It's who runs the internet? It's like, it's everywhere. It's like somebody said one time, you can't take down the internet because it's everywhere. I'm like, oh yeah, you can take down the internet.
Yeah, everywhere.
Yeah. And so these services like Cloudflare, they're very important to the environment and the infrastructure of the internet. And we'll talk about why and why it matters and why it's a problem when it goes down. And what are you going to do about it? Is it in your plan? All those things.
Well, you're going to be busy on this episode. You got a lot to talk about.
I have a lot to talk about.
No, it was fun sitting there for a minute, just figuring out who was going to find something next for a little while that morning.
Yeah.
Why is this not working? Why is that not working? Why is this not working? Okay. Just wait it out until they finish, and then you can answer all of them at one time.
Well, fortunately for me, one of the first things I do when I get up in the morning is look at what's popping up on the news reports. And I usually check news reports throughout the day because I want to know what kind of craziness is going on. And so I saw that, and I'm always looking for data breaches, outages, those types of things. And it wasn't long after that I started seeing tickets start to come in from clients. And the easy part of this on our side is we can't fix it. And so we just create a quick templated response. And like every time somebody puts a ticket in that they can't get to a website, like I do want us to go look at it, but our response is probably this. We're still looking at it for you, but just go ahead and know probably this.
You're not alone.
Yeah. I saw one of them from a client. They were like, we need to get to XYZ software and we need you to log in and fix this right away. Like, can't do it. Sorry.
I got nothing. That's all you can say. I got nothing. I can't help. And that weirds people out. When you're always able to fix it and then you can't, then it's like, wait, what do you mean you can't fix it?
Yeah.
So that tells you how central it is.
Oh, yeah, it
to
is.
the operation. So I pulled notes for this conversation from Healthcare Info Security and then Brian Krebs, which we talk about Krebs on Security, articles about it. So we always like to make sure we give them credit where credit's due. It was particularly interesting that Brian Krebs' piece brought up the point that it gave us a security exercise that we should sit down and not just ignore, but use it for improving our redundancies and our security and all these things. And that's when I thought, that's a great idea. Let's talk about that. But first, I thought we might want to explain what Cloud this is not going to be good. Cloudflare is, so that people even know. I mean, all they knew was it was making life hard for them.
Yeah.
They didn't
Just
know
remove
anything
it. Just remove
No,
it.
just take it off. I don't want it. Yeah.
So all right, I don't want to run about to jump in another rabbit hole. So let's go back. All right, Cloudflare.
Yeah.
Cloudflare, it's a company that helps websites, they stay up, they stay online easier and better. They run faster because what it is what we call in the industry a CDN, a content delivery network, which means in short, it just stores copies of websites. So when somebody goes to your website and they type in www.blablabla.com, it goes and it grabs like a saved version of that. And it's typically a saved version that's close to them. So that's fast.
Yeah.
You got all these servers all over the place. So if I'm in South Carolina, it's like, all right, what's the closest server to South Carolina? Show that to David. Boom. It's like, wow, your site's so fast.
Yeah.
And if my site goes down and you have something like Cloudflare, Cloudflare can kind of show it the static, information that it had saved. And so oftentimes people don't even notice that your site's having an issue for a short time.
Yeah, and well, it does explain why sometimes it seems like a site doesn't change when it should, is because there are copies of it everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But it really does make a difference for a lot of folks. And the other stuff is, because the traffic is going through Cloudflare, that's another layer of protection for us and our websites and our servers. So that they get hit with these denial of service attacks on Cloudflare itself, not on us. So that means Cloudflare is dealing with it, not all of our independent websites. And I think it was, wasn't it 2019 when that massive bot network attacked them?
I'll say
denial
yes.
of service.
If it didn't happen today, I probably don't know when it happened.
Yeah, it was a while back, and since that attack, they really haven't had any major outages until this one. So
I don't know what it is, but ever since 2020, I have not been able to keep track of what time actually is anymore. It's like,
it just quit. It just doesn't work anymore.
it's just, was it last week? Was it last month? Last year? I don't know. It was in the past.
It was before, or the before times before. So, but the good news is they've invested a lot in managing this kind of stuff so that we can have a more fast, secure, reliable internet, which is great. However, they got the same problem everybody else does. Sometimes something goes wrong. And it almost always involves a human.
Yeah.
For now. That bot attack, they were taking over people's devices that weren't secured. So the human didn't secure it. They took over the devices, did a massive attack, aiming all this traffic at their servers. This one, though, was on the flip side. The flip side being a little different.
Yeah, this one was basically an update. It was an update. And that brings up some questions for me and probably for you too. But what had happened was, as you like to say,
no, right. Shout out to Bri.
So there's like a database query that's happening inside of this thing called a bot management system. So it's trying to keep all these bots from hammering your website. And what happened due to this update was it was basically taking that file and it was doubling the output size of that file. And so Cloudflare's services were basically saying, oh, something's wrong. This is too big. Something's bad wrong. And it would shut down. And then all of a sudden it go, okay, we replaced it with the good version. We're back up. Then it would double again. Oh, it's bad again. Shut it down. And so it was just, it was like fighting itself. And of course, first they thought it was okay. What would you think first? Like, oh, we were being attacked.
Again, a bot attack, by the way, probably.
Right.
The bot
Yeah. And
management
so,
is trying to manage a bot attack, is what I would think. Yeah.
yeah. And even if you think of it from a healthcare perspective, when you think like this is the most probable thing is this, you go down that path. You don't investigate everything at once. You're just like, the most probable thing is this, let's go. And then at some point you're like, oh, that's not it. Now let's back up. We've eliminated that one and go down this other path. And that's what they did. The first thing was like, must be a cyber attack. They went down that path. They're like, nope, not a cyber attack. Let's back up. And that's when they found out that it was, and your favorite word, a glitch.
Oh. I hate that. I don't know why. If me and that word met in a bar, maybe we could become friends.
Well, yeah. But I do like in your notes here that the Donna-friendly analogy of what happened is that Cloudflare's bot bouncer tried to handle a guest list twice as long and basically fainted at the door.
Just passed out. I can't do it.
Yeah. So, and that's it. That's what happened. Now, my first thought, maybe yours, was why did they roll this out into a production environment first? Not saying they did. Maybe they did test it, but like, why didn't they test this internally to make sure this wasn't going to happen?
Well, there's always that post-mortem that's taking place, and they're making changes. They'll fix whatever, add another check on something. Probably it had to do with, just the fact of in the test environment is probably set smaller. Everything's smaller, so the doubling didn't happen, causing it to, so there's probably, hey, our test environment is not real world in this one little area, because test environments often, they can be close, but they're not in the wild. And in the wild, everything's different. I spent so much time developing proper test data sets and all of this, and having people, pound away at interfaces, and then you put it out in the wild, and first day somebody clicks, blows the thing up, and you're like, why would you even think to click there? No one thought to click there. I don't know. It just seemed like where I should click.
Yeah. I know often when I've been a part of things that have gone awry, the first thing we do is, all right, let's go back and pull our process here. And usually you find out that, somebody decided that because they didn't follow the process the 399 times before and everything was fine, that this time they didn't follow the process and it caused a problem.
Yeah, that does happen too. I don't need no stinking checklist.
Yeah. Yeah. So for me, I'm always like, well, what is our process must have failed? Because, I want to give my people the benefit. And then when I find out the process didn't fail, like you missed a step, or maybe we missed a step. Maybe it's changed and we didn't add something to it or whatever. But, I want to find out what happened so it not happen again.
So the good news, it wasn't a cyber attack.
That is very good news.
And so once they determined that, they had to figure out what the problem was. They knew they'd made changes, and they were able to bring things back up in a fairly reasonable amount of time. It was a chaotic morning, but, it was a lot better by the afternoon and pretty much resolved the next morning, as far as I could tell, which is great. But I think everybody learned interesting things about. So many people didn't even know what Cloudflare was when it pops up. Take it out. I don't want it.
Take it out. Yeah. Well, the funny part is, and you and I know this when we talk to clients, if you ask any client, do you use Cloudflare anywhere? They're like, no, never heard of it.
Don't know what it is. Nope. Not on our business associate list. Nope. Yeah. And that's where people really started to understand. And that's one of the reasons that Brian Krebs, he had somebody Nicole Scott. And she had this great idea is everybody should treat it like a tabletop exercise, but it's live. You know, you went through it and now, you know, a lot of protections went out of the way. And so depending on what you were using, because Cloudflare can be used for a lot of things. It could be used for protections. And so some places could go around Cloudflare. It's possible. It depends on what it's being used for. The most people that would try to go to a website and the website wasn't there, you know, not a lot that could be done necessarily, but companies were going around some of the firewalls. They were making small changes here and there. And the question was, how much are you counting on Cloudflare to save you? And how little do you know that Cloudflare is supposed to be the one to save you? So if you know it's there, have you thought that through? And if you had no idea, surprise, one of your vendors is doing that. So it does kind of give you a free tabletop exercise. So sit down and go through it. And for the people that were making like changes to the network to get around it, has anybody made sure, A, you should have made the changes, B, they were put back. The person making the changes really should have had the authority to make the change. There's a lot that needs to go into that one, right? That needs to be fully evaluated. But the sites, and really for our people, it'll be the sites that their people go to. They need the site up and running, and I need you to take care of it right now. Those people.
Yep.
It is a new point of failure in your supply chain that you didn't know about. And this gets to, it's not just the vendor you contract with, it's all of the things that they contract with and then who they contract with.
Yeah.
And it just goes much deeper than most people get it. So if you had any awareness of the Cloudflare problem, sit down and talk about how did that impact you and what if it was out for 2 days, 3 days, a week? How would it impact you? And what would you do about it? You know, besides call David, because that's...
Yeah. Well, this is one of those things, like we talked about it a little bit internally, that, you know, the plan is always, we can't get to the internet. What do? We think about that from a local standpoint. Like, I can't get to the internet because something's happening here in my office. And I'll go to wherever, the next office over or the coffee shop down the street or whatever. This is something that going to somewhere else and connecting to the internet is not going to do anything for you.
No, unless it has to do with your ability to access the internet. But if it's the site you're trying to reach has the problem, it's not going to matter.
Nope.
It's like the door's locked. The bouncer passed out. Nobody's unlocking the door. That's what's wrong. No one can get in. I don't care if you're a VIP and you got a free pass and you know somebody. The door's locked and the bouncer is just passed out. Got nothing. I can't help you right now. You know, until the line works itself out and people quit trying, because it was like they'd stand up, fall down, stand up, fall down, stand up. It was crazy. And so people might get through something, but then it wouldn't last. And understanding that, that's a big thing. And you got to say, well, are there vendors that we should start asking them how much they depend on a service like Cloudflare to be available? Maybe it didn't go down because of Cloudflare, but you ask them, look, this didn't happen to you, but AWS did, or Google Cloud, or what other big thing out there that is the infrastructure part. If it fails, what will impact you? So that I can have a plan. If I know that ABC has gone down, I don't have to wait for you to tell me.
Yeah. Yeah, because so much of the internet is built on these bigger systems. Like, people buy stuff from me. I buy it from another vendor. They buy it from another vendor. And then that vendor buys it from AWS or Microsoft Azure, or, there's really only a small number of big ones out there that everything runs off of.
Yeah.
And
and the sheer volume of little pieces plugged together, people don't get it.
Yeah. I mean, there used to be a time, I don't know that people do it much anymore. There used to be a time when you might run your own internal server. Like maybe you have your own Exchange server locally, or you have your own web server locally. I mean, we used to run our own IIS web servers and all that. But that's not something people do much anymore. And honestly, it's not something I recommend people do anymore.
No.
Because it's just, it doesn't make sense to do it. Now, some of the problem with these things is that when it happens, you'll have people say, well, it's never happened before. I'm not going to spend a lot of time trying to figure out what to do when this happens, because it may never happen again. How would you address that?
Well, that's called risk management. And, I understand that. I'm currently having a battle with squirrels. And
and these are not the same squirrels she normally battles. Usually they're mental squirrels. These are actual squirrels.
Yeah, squirrels are sharpening their teeth on the power line that runs to my house and making it unstable. And it's an interesting story. Sometime I'll tell more. But
squirrel flare.
Ooh. Maybe that flash I saw outside, wasn't it? Poof. But now I have a whole little AI movie I want to go make of the squirrels. But it's the same kind of scenario where I look at it and I say, okay, here are the different ways that we can fix it. Here are the different ways that we can try to prevent it moving forward. Here are the things that'll happen based on those decisions. It's the same thing as how much am I going to try to do? If you've ever watched any of those videos where people set up little squirrel mazes in their yard, have you ever? It's hysterical to watch. But the squirrels, they're going to keep doing what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. So my thing is, I got a brand new wire now. Hopefully, it'll last for another 20-something years. And I don't live here then. But in the meantime, I've had to make that decision and figure out, do I want to try to protect the wires from the squirrels? And then you start asking that question. If a squirrel wants in, they're going to get in. So the only difference is I don't have to worry about a squirrel at your house messing up my power line. I only have to worry about the squirrels that live here and their friends that they've invited over for the big party on the power line, apparently. If I had to worry about all the squirrels, I'd have some different issues, right? Maybe you need to put up some feeding stations in the backyard, keep them out of the front yard where the power is. Now they use it like a highway, so. But it's the same concept of you have to decide what you think is worthy of your risk management investment.
Yeah. Now, what's acceptable to you?
Yeah. And if the whole thing falls apart on me and I have to spend $15,000 to solve the problem, it's complicated, people. It's complicated. Me and the squirrels.
Let me see. It'll drive you nuts.
Yuck. It was there. You had to use it. So it's risk management, but this is one of those things. What was unavailable to you? Okay, well, all of your stuff was working, but what about people you know? Like, for example, one of our clients had no problems until they tried to run a credit card and, get payments at any of their large number of clinics spread out in the area. Their payment processing system used Cloudflare.
Ooh, that's not something you can change quickly.
No, you can't. You can't flip off that. You can't. So they couldn't take payments, and they did. It's like you come in and everything's working, so we're all good. Swipe.
Everybody's like, "Where's the knuckle buster?" You remember those?
Oh yeah. Ka-ching, ka-ching. Oh, it is the knuckle busters. But it was not, I mean, their EHR worked, their, billing capability, their check-in tools worked, their everything worked right up to the point they wanted to take money. And nobody likes to let anybody walk out the door without taking their money. I don't care what your business is. What is it you always say? I don't want to do anything to get between somebody that wants to give me money and their money.
Yep. Yep. And never put an obstacle between somebody and and me when it comes to their money.
Yeah. So, and that's what was, they were in that position and they had to, okay, how are we going to deal with that? So imagine that happens to you. Everything's working. You just can't run the payment. Okay. You're going to make people pay you cash, write a check.
Yeah.
That's
Do people
just
do
funny.
that anymore?
Yeah, it's like, when you have a case where you have an account and you're only going to have it for a brief amount of time, you have like 10 checks. Okay, can I go get cash and give them that? I don't want to write a check, I only have 10. So, those things happen because there are so few of the cases where you have checks anymore. That used to be their fallback. Used to it was, we're either paying cash or check. People don't remember that. We do, but most people don't. So the fact that you couldn't do the Apple Pay, you couldn't do anything, nothing. Now you got a problem.
Well, some places don't even take cash anymore. Like I have to ask somebody, I asked somebody the other day, I don't even remember what it was. And I was like, do you take cash? And they were like, what? I'm like, some places won't take cash anymore. So I have to ask.
It is interesting. It is scary.
Yeah.
So
on a side note about cash, did you see that they're not printing the 1 cent penny any longer? They're not doing it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that there's a lot of problems with that. There's pros and cons, and the fact that, it's copper penny and all those things. But pennies have been an irritant for a long time,
Yeah. So I guess you can no longer give somebody your 2 cents worth. It's now at least a nickel.
At least a nickel. Now it's 5 cents worth.
Yep. Yep. And you won't have to worry about not being able to rub two pennies together either. So.
Oh, geez. Here we go.
And just think about it though. Like my grandkids, I'm going to say, I'm so poor I can't even rub two pennies together. And they're going to be like, what? A penny? What is a penny?
Yeah. Penny for your thoughts. What you talking about?
Yeah. What is that?
What did Penny do to you? She's a good friend of mine.
It's going to be crazy.
So all of those things just keep limiting us, and we're so dependent on these systems. And if you don't think you need to sit down and talk about how many different systems are integrated, that any one of them could go out, at least on the payment ones and the managing your core business ones is the key to operate day to day without freaking people out. And, my favorite conversation is when I ask people, okay, your main system, your EHR is down. What is it you're going to do? Because you're going to be down at least the rest of the day. Oh, we go to paper. And they act like that's no big deal. How many times has your office operated on paper? Well, we've never had to do it really. We've done it a little. Or, okay, how many people in your office have operated and done their job with nothing but paper for a long amount of time? What are you going to do with the paper after you create the paper? And it's like, it's getting through that process. Well, the same thing with payments. I can't take a payment. What are you going to do? How are you going to handle that? Because we all know things get a little squirrely, and I don't want staff writing down credit card numbers. I'm sorry.
Somebody did it.
I know. So you've got to have a plan. I can't take a payment, and I don't know when I'm going to take a payment. You're going to shut your doors? I can't take a credit card. I don't know when I can take a credit card. Are you going to shut your doors? And I think everybody should sit down and, question that if you're dealing with the public on a daily basis.
Yeah.
What are you
And
going to
just
do?
think about it from the standpoint of time frames. Like, for example, let's say Cloudflare has another issue or something similar. I might choose to say for the first 2 hours, I'm not going to do anything. Like, I'm okay with it. But if it starts getting into 3-4 hours or whatever, now I need to implement plan A. If it becomes a whole day or two, maybe plan B. It starts getting more and more serious. So you don't have to have this big, massive plan of if it goes down, we got to do this in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Just think about what you can tolerate and how long you're going to be able to tolerate it and have plans for those things.
Yeah, and there's some things you will be surprised how long you can tolerate things. I am still shocked I'm doing this podcast with David. And
I have I have an ex-wife, and so I know that there's a lot that can be tolerated.
Yeah. So with all of that in mind, though, this is why you should use these opportunities. We always talk about when something happens to somebody else, you should use that as a teaching opportunity. When somebody makes a mistake, use it as a teaching opportunity. When there's a big failure like this, use it as a risk management assessment opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Don't miss the opportunity that could save you, as we say, CYA all the way.
That's right.
But it is a great opportunity. Turn it into a real tabletop exercise. Map what happens if it's down for 3 hours, if it's down all day. What is it you're going to do if that happens to you? All right, well, we're offline. This part is offline for X amount of time. What other things break? Right? How many things do I have in incident response? And that's another thing is a lot of people, you think you're under a cyber attack, you're going to have some sort of we're trying to teach people not to call things a breach. It is not a breach. You are having an incident. It may or may not be a cyber attack. It may not be a security incident. This was an operational incident. There was an incident. And until you don't call it anything else. We're having an incident. There is some sort of cyber incident happened to us. We are impacted by it. We do not know the extent of it. And until we do, we don't define it as anything else. It may not be a cyber attack, and it was not. And it definitely wasn't a breach. Nothing was breached. And that's why it's so important that we teach people to define these properly. Because the minute you tell somebody we had a breach, and if you have poorly educated staff, even after the Cloudflare thing, they might tell people, well, we had a breach and couldn't take payments. Wait, but I just gave you my credit card the other day. You can hear that happening. You do. So it's another thing to educate people on how to handle it, how to talk to, the patients, the clients, whatever. Those are other parts of your tabletop exercises, communications, and getting everybody on the same page to know what to do. So if you don't take this time to do this, you're losing an opportunity that, during the holidays, things are chaotic, but there are also, periods of time where they're kind of quiet. Sit down, have that conversation. But also have a conversation that is during the holidays, and that's a major attack time, which is what freaked everybody out about Cloudflare.
Yep. Because as we're recording this, it is the day before Thanksgiving. You and I know Black Friday will be a nice attack day.
Cyber Monday, Black Friday, whatever they call them.
Well, for the remainder of the year, I'm already seeing people post on LinkedIn that they're getting attacked, like scam attacked, and hey, we have your information or whatever. I mean, it'll be an unprecedented number of people that get attacked over the next 6 weeks, and a lot of people will fall for it, and it's sad, but criminals look forward to the season as much as Santa Claus.
Yeah. The season does bring Santa Claus to them too. So it's it is that point of the year, and take every opportunity to make your systems protect yourself, to be able to protect yourself better. Improve your risk management plan when things don't happen to you, so that it will prevent, in theory, things from happening to you.
Mm-hmm.
Or at least make them less painful.
Yeah.
So go forth and prosper.
Yeah, do that. All right. That is our show for the day. I'd like to thank you all for listening. Be sure to share it out. And if you don't know, go over and check us out on YouTube. We're there too. So leave a comment there, like, share, subscribe, all those good things that help push the algorithm. As people say, hack the algorithm. Help us hack YouTube. All right. Anyway, that is it for us. Remember, for Donna and myself, that HIPAA is not about compliance. It's about patient care.
You've been listening to the Help Me with HIPAA podcast, hosted by Donna Grindle and David Sims. The show created to help you with HIPAA. For more information or to ask us a question, visit our website at helpmewithhipaa.com. Neither Donna Grindle or David Sims are attorneys, and they do not offer binding legal advice concerning regulatory compliance. The information in this podcast should not be relied upon or construed as legal advice in any way. Consult your attorney for legal advice concerning compliance with HIPAA regulations.